I am now open the Lacey Commission on Equity meeting on December 22nd, 5:30 p.m. So who's on call on the meeting? Do you have anyone?
We currently do not share.
Okay. Great. And then Shannon, we are recording the meeting, roll call. Yeah, I guess everybody except John.
Commissioner Hegwood and our youth commissioner are
Commissioners, yeah.
not here presently.
Alrighty, and then we're gonna go to land acknowledgement and Commissioner Hart will read it for us, please.
We, the city of Lacey, are on the ancestral lands of the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek, including the Nisqually Indian Tribe and Squaxin Island Tribe. We acknowledge and remember those tribal people not recognized today who were absorbed or relocated into other tribes for survival. We recognize the ancestors and their descendants who are still here. We recognize and respect the tribal people of the Treaty of Medicine Creek as the traditional stewards of this land since time immemorial and their role today in taking care of these lands in perpetuity. We recognize and have the responsibility to call attention to the histories of disposition, forced removal, and abridged treaty rights that allow our nation, state, and city to develop as we have today. We recommend that community members read the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1850.
Thank you. And now I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda for previous meeting minutes and consent items. So approval of agenda.
I move approval of the agenda and previous meeting minutes.
A second. Okay, so then it has been moved and seconded to approve these items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Right, items has been approved. Public comments. So it looks like we have 0 pre-registered via Zoom. And no written public comments was received. And then we can then go to inspirational item. So that was what, a couple months ago, we talked about the thread that binds us. So maybe we can follow up with that.
Absolutely. I know this was Commissioner Hart's item and introduced this and basically, what I recall, a time when you felt truly connected to others, not because you agreed, but because you understood each other. Maybe it was a moment of collaboration, a hard conversation, or even a quiet gesture of support. Hold that memory for a moment. Now imagine our group as a quilt. Each one of us brings a thread, something unique and that strengthens the whole. The questions to be thought about of what threads do you bring? What value, story, or energy do you contribute to the fabric of our unity? And take a moment and write it down. It could be a word, it could be a symbol, it could be a short phrase. We'll gather these threads and we'll build a visual quilt together, a reminder that our differences don't divide us, they define us, they bind us. This was Commissioner Hart's inspirational item going back to our October meeting. And I know a few of you had sent in your kind of item for our quilt that we were making. But I also recognize that, you know, there were a lot of things that happened between now and October. And so I thought it would be a really good moment to revisit this item. And I've placed over here a draft quilt, if you would, that everybody can write on. And so I think, you know, doing kind of what Commissioner Hart had recommended of just taking a moment, thinking about that memory, writing something down, and then us revisiting it as a group together and hearing what kind of attributes or words that every group member brings. So if you all want to take a couple of minutes just to think about some things, and when you're ready, please feel free to get up and write your word, your symbol, your short phrase, and we'll come over here and talk a little bit about it. Commissioner Hart, is there anything you'd want to add?
No, I think I might be ready to put my word up. I think I know what I'd like to say.
I did email, I don't know if you got it, or was it too? Oh, you
I
didn't?
don't think I received that one, but I'm sorry if I did, maybe if I missed it.
Oh, okay.
If you could just rethink about it, yeah, well, we'll do this interactively.
Great.
So take a moment and we'll write them up here.
Yes, right now.
Yes.
But it doesn't, it's not up there.
Just look for it. Found it.
Do you want me to write it?
If you want to.
Yes, sir. Got it up.
Cause mine was not longer, so maybe.
I'll look for yours too.
But I sent it from Korea.
See if I can find it.
Sorry, I'm just. Sure. It's too.
I had the opposite. Two. Two.
They little know about me, after 4 years.
Seen you in a couple of months, so.
Oh, you weren't here in October. I was here. I wasn't here in the. Yeah, we were here.
So.
Did you need a piece of them? They're both are running out on this. It's upside down. Let's see.
Commissioner Hart, as we wrap up kind of the writings, do you want to facilitate the discussion around the table on it?
Sure, I know. I'm glad you brought that back up because I couldn't remember what and I gave my paper up, so I didn't remember what I was talking about there at that time, but thank you for the reminder of that. So as we well, let me at least put what I put out there. My word was observation. And if you guys noticed, when this commission was first put together, I was very nervous when we went around and introduced one another. And as I got to know people a little bit more, thank you. As I got to know people a little bit more, I got to realize that I may not be the most experienced person in the room. Maybe not experienced, but I have experience kind of within my family unit, but what everybody else has to bring kind of made me feel like I had not as much experience as what everybody else has experienced in the community, in this community here in Thurston County. And so my word was observation. I took that time to sit back because I never really made any policy before, hadn't really volunteered in this realm before with the community. And so my idea was to sit back and take in everything that I would learn over at least the first months before I jumped in and kind of gave my observation for things. So observation meaning being able to sit back, take in what's going on, reflect on it, listening to what others have to say and contribute. And if I had anything else to offer or to contribute, then I would, because we may have seen something one way, but if I can kind of be the disruptor, I will. I'm like that in my business as well. So I like to do that just so that all aspects of everything are thought about. With that, that is my contribution to the quilt. Let me find out what everybody else had to offer, and then I guess we can go from there. Does anybody want to go first? The popcorn this.
Well, I'll go.
Yes.
I think, what did I write? Being your unique self.
Yes.
It was so exciting joining this commission to see the professionals, people with various backgrounds, you know, so experienced in their particular areas. And to see how things unfold and how everybody contributed, and not just contributed on the surface, but passion that was behind it with everyone, and whatever each of us individually believes in, you know, that we are passionate about, it was shared. And then we showed mutual respect among each other to be able to move things forward. I mean, it's a huge undertaking and a huge accomplishment to put all these great minds together and then come up with the types of products that we have and be able to work together. I mean, it is, you know, that's huge. So being our unique self, each of us, it's been exciting for me.
I go next. I put, I think I sent you the similar message. Basically, I think openness. Open to understand others, hear others, and having compassion and understanding to me. And also making that gesture, making that invitation to be inclusive is what I really believe in, and I want to be the model of that. So that is the reason why I am volunteering my time here, because I want to be that modeling myself. So that's me.
We do have Chair Sauer's original entry, and I think this is really pretty, if you don't mind me reading from it, and I'll add it to the quilt, but it says, rather than focusing on differences that might divide us, I naturally look for the good in others and believe that at our core, we all want similar things: happiness, freedom, purpose, and a chance to contribute to others.
That's true.
Whose was that?
Chair Sauer's.
Oh, okay, earlier.
I did my homework. I wasn't listening for it.
Yes.
Alright, Commissioner Craig. Go ahead, Ed.
Sorry.
I put in the deep understanding of kindness and sorrow, kind of what I work from. And I have a favorite poem that's called Kindness, and in it she says, before you can know kindness, you have to know sorrow, and you have to live with sorrow until you see the thread of the cloth and how big the cloth is, how big sorrow is. And so just being in the commission to listen to other people's stories, knowing that they have both that some deep sorrows that they're working from, and that what kindness does and brings out and includes.
Thank you.
Read what I wrote. Sure. The pen, yeah, 3 pens got run down. I had 3 thoughts. To thine own self be true. And thinking about this work that I stepped into 4 years ago, given all of the adversity that was out there and how the topics of diversity and equity and inclusion can really cause you to do inner reflection, because you've got to have some very strong feelings about that. And so your points of view become very important. First of all, you're true to yourself. You're not saying what you think people want to hear, but what you think you're bringing to it. So I try to live by that motto, to thine own self be true. If you can't like that person looking back at you in the mirror, then you've got problems. Okay, the second thing I said was remember the past to be informed for the future. And all of our work has been about how we're trying to be a part of the decision-making advisory process as the city of Lacey and our community moves forward. But we can't leave the past behind, because it helps inform us about where the issues are and where the work really lies. We can ignore the past and move forward and really aren't living up to what we committed to be as an equity commission. And then along those same lines, for me, I said, always bring forth the lessons learned from ancestors, that being perseverance and hopefulness, and to keep your eye on the prize. So we had kind of a mythical eye on the prize when we talked about the Equity Commission. We didn't hold back our dreaming, other than you can't because the but no, we just overrode those things. And going into our 5th year, we've persevered on some pretty tough subjects. We haven't exhausted the list, but I think given the foundational basis we have with one another, that we're positioned to take on those tough challenges that we know we have ahead of us. 4 years ago, this country wasn't half as messed up as it is today. And the whole issues of equity, diversity, and inclusion is really under the gun. So given the commitment I've seen and heard and shared, I think we're pretty positioned to say, bring it on.
Turn. So I did my homework, like I'm sure Kim Sauer. I did it right away. So I thought of a story when I was in Alaska. And the overarching theme is just essentially compassion. The compassion that I had done at that time. And I don't know if you guys read it, but I'm gonna go through it real briefly. There was a lady in line, she was buying formula as well as groceries. Her card declined. And I just looked at my wife and she just like nodded at me, and I just swiped my card and paid for her stuff and was like, okay, also please move because I'm awkward. So she went out and I didn't get her name, I didn't get her information, I didn't get anything. I just paid for her groceries and went about my day. And that's kind of compassion, anonymous in nature. I didn't really need it. I didn't need to do that and achieve anything for me. It only cost me something, but it was, you know, compassion is that thread that kind of binds me to this work and what I'm doing and why I'm here. And I think especially in this era, that is something that is very important in society.
I had something different, but you just reminded me of a story, something that I experienced when I was in Mexico. And for me, the teaching was you sometimes just have to take the first step and then let the people shine. Because I was thinking collaboration. And it was many years ago, my sister had her first baby and I was helping her babysit. And then I left at 10 p.m. was driving home and I see these 2 kids in the street asking for money. And I thought, it's 10 p.m. I'm sure they haven't had dinner. I don't know if they had lunch. And they're still in the street, so probably they cannot go home because they don't have enough money to bring to the parents, because sometimes they tell them, you're not allowed back until you bring me this much money or whatever. So I told them, did you have dinner? And they said, obviously not. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go around, just meet me. There was a restaurant there, like type of a Denny's. So I told them, meet me at the entrance. I'm just gonna go around and I'll meet you at the entrance. So it took me a minute and a half to do that. When I showed up, there were 10 kids there. I don't know how, from where or what, but it was really in a minute and a half, and I had not seen any other children there. There was even like a 15-year-old girl with a baby. So I stepped inside the restaurant and I thought they were gonna reject us because it was like a nicer restaurant and they were like dirty and like. So I asked the waiters and I thought they're probably gonna deny us, but they said, well, just go all the way to the back. So we went all the way to the back and I told them, you have to be like very quiet, very respectful, because we don't want to be kicked out. And then I told them to go wash their hands and I told them, please don't make a mess in the bathroom and this and that. But I was thinking the waiters or the manager for the restaurant is gonna send us out, or I was hoping that the other people there were not complain and ask them to kick us out. Nobody complained. They were all super nice. The kids, obviously, they all except one order meat. The other was pancakes. But then at the end, I stood up to pay the bill. And this guy came and told me, I think this is beautiful what you're doing. I have a discount card. Can you let me do your discount? Like give you my discount. And so he did. He paid for I think it was like a 20% discount or whatever. But I thought it's so beautiful. I don't know where the other children came from so quickly, but I thought it's so nice. For me, it was like how everybody was supportive of the situation. And then somebody even came and helped me pay for the bill. So I thought sometimes you just have to make the first step and then the rest of the people will join in and collaborate, support.
Nice.
So that's what we're doing here too.
Did you have anything?
I do, but I'm gonna turn it over to Brandy, our
Okay.
city clerk first, if I could.
Sure.
For mine, I chose compassion and understanding. I think, I agree, with some of the topics that's already been said, that I think that a lot of us are really actually going towards the same goal, but it's a matter of understanding each other and how do we get step by step. So I think it's important to kind of take the time to be compassionate and understand with everybody and work towards that common goal together. So I like to spend a lot of efforts with making sure everybody understands, is on the same page. So that's fine.
All right.
Now, I also noticed we have audience here. Would you like to join?
I don't know what the homework is.
Basically, the tie that binds us, questioning, imagining what kind of community would you want to be a part of? If you had to, think about that and reimagine
And if you could introduce yourself.
Yourself.
Yeah, I probably should.
it.
Hi, I'm Ryan Siu. I'm gonna be a council member here at the city of Lacey, starting in like a couple weeks, I think. Is it 2 weeks?
January
Yeah,
6th.
January 6th. So yeah, I just was trying to make it through to see the commissions and see how you all work together. But for myself, being part of the community that I would like to be a part of, I want to be a part of a compassionate community. So last two stories that we both heard, that's a thing that I think is a very important aspect when we are able to see each other face to face and to see the humanity in the other person. We see ourselves reflected back in that. And so we always have to be able to keep that in mind. I think as we become more and more online, I feel like there's been it's easier to lose that aspect. And so that's the thing that I would, a part of the community I would like to maintain is this compassion, even when we're online, to be able to see the humanity in the other person, even if it's through a screen, across keyboards, being able to recognize that and remember that we all have our own paths, we all have our own things that we work through every day. And yeah, like the work that's being done here in this room, I really appreciate. I'm glad that I get to just listen in.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Right, well, I wrote up there steady and solution focused, which I think, Brandy had mentioned kind of that step by step and just making sure that we are putting one foot in front of the other and constantly doing our best to move forward. Recognizing, at times that maybe it's a sidestep or a little jump backwards, but that we're continuing slowly but surely our journey and path forward. I did think it was very timely. I received a little note this last week that effectively read that everyone's life is a puzzle, but you don't have all of the pieces. And I thought that was actually really great to tie into the homework assignment that we had of being all connected and being part of somebody else's world, but also being all together as one kind of quilt.
Exactly. And then the other part of the homework sort of would be if your part was not there, what about the community? If you don't have the openness, the compassion, a lot of people mention compassion, humanity, the empathy. If it's not there, then how can you empathize with what's going on with somebody else who may not be dealing with the situation that one person is? And at what cost? Are you thinking about what it's going to cost you as opposed to paying it forward? And doing those random acts of kindness. Sometimes it may just take one person, as in Veronica's situation, where she stepped up and more people ended up stepping up right behind her. Not even knowing if that was what she was leveraging. It's like they automatically knew to just, hey, I see something, and that just has that chain reaction effect. And sometimes we have to go through the things that we're going through. I've come to notice that lately this year, where people are having to go through things that they haven't ever had to go through before, to be able to see that, maybe that's why there's this friction, or I didn't understand this before, and now it's starting to affect me. And now I see why X, Y, Z. So I think not having one part of the quilt affects the whole in that way. So yeah, that's kind of the point of this whole scenario, if that makes any sense.
Commissioner Hart, we do have Commissioner Hedwood has joined us now. So we have
Yes, Commissioner Hedgewood, have you had the opportunity to think about the homework assignment for what kind of community would you want to be a part of, or what portion of the quilt you would bring to the table?
Yeah, the phrase that really stuck with me and has before the prompt, but continues to ring true for me is better than who I was yesterday.
What, could you say that one more time? Better than it was yesterday?
Better than who I was yesterday.
Yeah,
He's better than it was yesterday.
yeah. Yes, and that definitely pulls together. I think the more that we go through this, the more people are gonna find out about themselves. I think it's great to have your individualism, but it's also great to think about other people and pay it forward. And not just doing it like somebody in front of the Starbucks paid for my coffee, I'm gonna do the same. And that's a great gesture. But I think if we kind of put that more into practice in our day-to-day lives, I think we could start to change what people see as empathy, and that it's not weakness or anything like that. I think it's something that we all need to do to be able to make a better community, a better world, a better state, a better nation. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
All
Are there
right.
any volunteers for January's inspirational item?
Annie?
Okay, that was great. Now we can move on to business items and poet. Is it Laureate?
Laureate.
Laureate.
Laureate. Program update,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I know this body is very familiar with the Poet Laureate program since you all reviewed the policy and provided a recommendation to the City Council back in November. Since then, we took the policy to the City Council at the December 2nd meeting, and the council passed the policy. And so that is now our new Poet Laureate program. And so we are very excited to start working on the administrative process of it. And one of the things we wanted to do was just show you the application, walk through the timeline, and see if you had any other additional feedback considering the policy, and then also if there's other information that you think would be beneficial to collect. Because it is likely that this body is going to be joined by representation from the library board and also the Parks, Culture and Recreation Board to do the review of the applications that we receive for our next Poet Laureate. So before we jump into the application itself, I do just want to highlight the tentative timeline. And so what we are looking for right now is the next Poet Laureate from 2026 to 2028. And what we're hoping to do is open the application that you all are going to review here in just a second in January. Keep it open the month of January. And then in late January, early February, close the application. And then bring it back to this group for review, plus the representation from the library board, the Parks, Culture and Recreation Board, and then also the folks who were mentioned in the policy. So making sure the former Poet Laureate Cynthia Pratt is part of that. We also get representation from, you know, a local poet group and organization, as well as potentially St. Martin's or South Puget Sound Community College in kind of their literary and arts fields. And so the idea would be to bring all of those groups together to go through one evening and be able to make a recommendation to the City Council for the next Poet Laureate. And that recommendation, we hope, is ready for the council to review in March, with the idea that the appointment for the next Poet Laureate happen at the end of, well, really mid-April, but start at the end of April, because April is Poetry Month. And so what we wanted to celebrate with the outgoing Poet Laureate is to have them perform their last, you know, poem as Poet Laureate for the City Council, and then have the new Poet Laureate perform their first poem for the City Council. So kind of having that handoff between the two Poet Laureates. So before we jump into the application, any questions on the timeline? Well, let me just show you really quickly the application itself. And what we're trying to do is to make it digital, although we will have a Word copy as well for people to be able to see and fill out. We want to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to apply. And so what you can see is it asks for kind of the contact information generally. It asks for how long you've lived in the city, and it does state here that you have to have lived in the city for a year, so 12 consecutive months to be eligible to apply per the policy. It also asks you if you're over the age of 18, because you have to be over the age of 18 by policy. And it tells us, asks you to say, well, tell us why you are passionate about poetry, which is one of the questions in the policy. And then as the Poet Laureate, how you would promote poetry in the city, how you would engage the community, how you would track the impact of your programming. For example, metrics, and I know we talked about this last time, such as demographics, attendees, number of poems, online engagement, but then also keeping it open-ended, et cetera, to let them really say like, hey, here's what I think would be unique and of interest for the city to collect. What is your proposal for your two community-based poetry programs? So this would be something like a poetry summit or public art collaboration, or maybe an apprentice. I know you all have talked about maybe there's a youth element to it and getting younger folks involved in literary arts. What would be your proposed budget, recognizing that the council has earmarked $5,000 through the art fund for programming each year. And in addition to that, the Poet Laureate would be eligible for $500 for a stipend for themselves in the position. So just having them kind of explain what their funding would be used on. And this would be something that would help us understand what their programming is, but also city staff kind of refine and work with them, whoever is selected to make the most out of the limited dollars and resources. It also includes an area where they can drop their resume. in their sample of original poems, so they have to provide 3 to 5 poems for this group to take a look at. And then finally wraps up with some of the acknowledgements, and a public records notice, and then a signature. So with that, any thoughts or questions or additions, things that we might be missing from the application?
With the resume curriculum vitae, reading information on new publishing. How far back are we looking at, or like if it's, of course, somebody 18 plus, but if we got somebody that was just 18, maybe 20 years old and haven't done a ton, but they enjoy writing, what would you expect to see in that?
Part of the beauty of this is it's keeping it open-ended for them to show us what they want to tell. And so I think, in the case of an individual like that, there's lots of options, whether that's, providing kind of what they've done in their maybe high schools, or maybe with some of their friend groups or community groups. So opening it up. So it doesn't necessarily just have to be your jobs, but it's more of like, we probably really are focused on what's your connection to poetry? What have you had published? What's your works? What have you read? And it doesn't have to be something that's an official event. It could be something, maybe they have a YouTube channel and they like to read poems. So we're keeping it very open-ended for that very purpose. Good question.
Yeah.
So I wonder how people with other than English, how would they be able to participate? Will they be able to submit it, maybe need to be translated or something like that? I mean, just wondering how we can encourage other community to participate.
That's what I wrote to his multilingual constituents.
Yeah, it's a great question. And as of right now, where it stands, it's not translated. And we're on a, somewhat of a tight timeline kind of moving forward. But I know Veronica's been working really hard on the language access plan. And so that's going to be hopefully starting to roll out here in 2026. And so that gives us a really good opportunity to take a look at some of our forward-facing applications and to make updates to some of those applications so that they can be more accessible in the future.
How did we say the word would get out to the community about this program and the application process, timelines, general guidelines, that kind of thing, so that people are aware if they are interested in applying? But things like this, if you don't know about it, you hear about it later and say, oh, I never knew that was going on. So I'm trying to think back on our previous discussion. What's our plan to make sure that we get the word out, so that folk who want to apply and are poetic or whatever, can go from there deciding if they want to apply or not?
Yeah, so we're gonna take a multi-pronged approach with this, and I'm happy to hear some recommendations from this group as well. But we recorded with our current poet laureate 4 new poems, and actually maybe 5 new poems. And so part of our outreach for this application being open is we were gonna do a big push on social media as well as our website, using those videos as a way to get more attention to this, of saying, this is the type of work that the poet laureate does. And if you're interested in applying, please do, and maybe you put that in a haiku. I don't know, somebody smarter than me is gonna need to write something like that. So we'll do that. That's one portion of it. Another portion is we have a new digital newsletter that we talked about last time, which is Lacey Weekly, and so we'll make sure to be promoting it in that mechanism. We'll also try to get it into our utility billing. So I don't know how many of you all receive the monthly utility bills, but there's always an ad up on the top corner. And so we'll try to provide some additional information on that, as well as the latest in Lacey, which is a 60 to 90-second kind of recap of everything that's going on in Lacey that gets broadcast on all of our communication channels, as well as Lacey TV 77, which is the city's cable television channel. In addition to that, we're hoping you all help us get the word out. And so once we have some advertisement materials, I'll make sure to send it out to you. And if you could spread it out to your networks, that would really help us.
Sure. And the library.
Yes.
Because writers go to the library. That would be a good spot.
Is there a way that we could do like a Zoom do you have any questions? Kind of like when you put something out for a bid, right? And people that might be interested can come and find out a little bit more about it in a short Zoom day that they would register for. And then, for like a half hour or something, and then people can show up and we can actually see that there's people that may have interest, may have questions. That could be with the past laureate or even current laureate, and somebody from the city to just kind of facilitate that online. In addition to all the other things that you had made mention.
That's an interesting idea and we can take a look into that.
Yeah,
What we do have on the application right now is some contact information, so people could reach out and say like, hey, we've got information. We're also building a website that will list a little bit more information, but I understand kind of what you're saying is the people, right, of being able to have a conversation. And so
yeah,
I think it's an interesting idea and maybe something that our poet laureate can help
yeah.
facilitate.
Yeah, it's something that I have done like with, I know the Department of Ag was doing something for a grant type of thing where people can come on, find out more information, ask questions. I know DES has done something like that before. And it would be nice to actually see who all would kind of show up for that. You may get a lot of people, you may not get anybody, but at least you can see faces right then and there, and they can ask those questions prior to the application deadline. That could be something that even happens in maybe 2 weeks before the deadline, after you've already gotten all of your other, channels of getting the information out. Then maybe that could give you enough time to put something into the bill saying, hey, we're gonna have a question and answer session or forum online, on this date, register, and here's the date and time.
And I guess while you were saying that, something kind of connected to it is, so we will be working with the current poet laureate. And that Cynthia is very involved in poetry, like organizations throughout the community. So I think that's also just another good natural way of kind of that word of mouth spreading to other individuals in the community. So we'll definitely look into that. Thank you, Commissioner.
That, your idea would also go well with the next agenda item, the community cultural grant update, like, just like you said, here's a time you can zoom in for just a few questions and answers. That might bring some more interest or
Bringing any clarity on
get,
anything.
yeah, and get a little bit more confidence in.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for these ideas. They're helpful. Appreciate it.
Great. We move on to the next business item, which is business and cultural grant update. Veronica?
So, well, you know the background already, but as part of the Commission on Equity work plan, we proposed to the council this community cultural events grant. It has been approved. So we have developed or drafted an application form, and it's gonna be similar to the poet laureate process, but we're thinking in terms of the timings. We're gonna launch or open the application sometime in January. And then, because we already have a policy approved, and then February, March, the application will be reviewed by this commission. And then the funding will be recommended also to the city of Lacey Council. Then between March and April, the city council will review the recommendations and making the final determinations on the budgets. And between April and March, we will be selecting applicants, and it will be on a reimbursement basis. So that will be submitting their receipts and everything. And the applicants also have to submit an annual report to the city that we will present. And August or September, we will review this pilot program to see with this commission if we proceed with potential funding for 2027. Yes, if you don't mind driving. Thank you, Shannon. So we're gonna go over the application. And Shannon, do you mind going through it? Because I'm trying out new contacts and I cannot see that
So,
far.
again, we're trying to make this as easy and accessible for folks to use. Basically, they need to fill out what their organization is, and it expressly states up here up front that they need to be a nonprofit or have a fiscal sponsor who meets the requirement, and that they are going to have to be able to show this as one of their attachments. It also talks about who's ineligible, and this is something that was identified in the policy, so all of that is the policy language. It includes contact information, and then it talks about the activity itself. So what is the activity? And then it asks them to identify the type of activity. Is it a community event? Is it a cultural event? And is it both? We're thinking likely both of these are gonna always be selected, but we figured we'd give an option in the first year and then we can update the application in future years. We asked folks to talk about where their location is, recognizing that the policy says that there will be events in Lacey or the urban growth area. And so we've also included a link to where you can find out whether you are in Lacey or the urban growth area. So you can type in your address and it'll say yes, no, effectively. And then we've got the event address. And it talks about confirming that the event is free and open to the general public, because you have to be in order to receive this funding. It asks you to identify how you meet the goal of the grant of kind of adopting city council goals and strategic planning, promoting the city in a welcoming environment, benefiting the city's diverse communities, and creating and maintaining an environment free of discrimination. And then it asks for some description, how frequently the event will occur. So is it just one day or is it multiple days? And you can select which one it is. And then it asks some questions here. How does your event create a safe, inclusive, and welcoming community, and allows them space to provide that? The number of estimated attendees and participants. And then it gets into budget information. So first recognizes just how funding would be reimbursed. And then it asks for how much funding is being requested, recognizing that the council has said that you can request anywhere between $500 and $5,000. And then it talks about use of funding. So what your scope of services are going to be, and it outlines what you can't use it for, again, by policy, and then what you could use it for. And we've put in here a couple of helpful categories. Just recognizing that what we want people to ultimately do is not necessarily give us every line item, like, hey, we're gonna get a generator, hey, we're gonna get lights, we're gonna get a band, but to select the broad categories that they may potentially be using it for, so that way it's easier for them to reimburse rather than being very specific, because maybe they end up not getting the stage, but they have a really cool photo booth, right? So trying to be flexible. And so all they would have to do is select which ones they think are going to apply. So maybe, hey, we could pay for the venue. We'll also be paying for marketing, and we're also gonna be paying for staffing and volunteers. So they'd be able to select the broad categories, and that's gonna help us too when we need to turn around a service agreement with them, because the scope of services will basically reflect what their event is and then what kind of uses they've asked for funding. What the total budget for the activity is, and then if they're receiving other City of Lacey funding. So there could be applicants out there that already are receiving funding, and just to make it aware and transparent throughout the process. And then another place where they can load their documents that provide, again, status of their nonprofit or fiscal sponsor, and then your acknowledgement and signatures, very much like the last one, saying, you know, public records, and that you attest that all this information is correct.
Would you scroll back down a minute there where you're documenting is that an error where you say 5?
That is, we'll take
19?
that out, thank you, yep, I thought we'd captured that before, but it looks like it's still there, so we'll take that out.
Good eye.
Yeah, next time we're gonna ask vice chair to read through this.
No, I'm a 501c3, so when I saw 5019, I say, is there a new form out there?
We did see that earlier and we thought we got it, but we'll
Okay.
go back through it.
So these individuals will be able to, let's say, if it's like a open to the general public event, they could still, like if they wanted to have vendors or something there, they could still have vendors pay a registration fee if that's not something that they were already planning on covering in the stipend that they'd be giving. So like, let's say they decided to cover it for the things that you were mentioning, like stage, the employees, that type of stuff. They'd still also be able to, if it didn't cover maybe booth registrations, let's say, for vendors to be there, because it's also gonna be a vendor thing. They'd still be able to charge their vendor registration and make supplemental not insurance, but cash outside of what they'd be granted.
So they could have other revenue sources, I think is
Yes.
what the question is, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Along about way, yeah.
Can you use these funds for like a golf tournament?
I think it would depend on kind of how somebody might potentially package that. I can't say yes or no definitively right now because this body would make recommendations and the city council would make a final decision. But effectively, they would have to show in their application that it meets the goals outlined above and that it's tied to a community or cultural event.
Yeah, it's just not free to the public.
I see.
It's open for the public.
So if there was,
Participate.
if this tournament, for example, had some sort of payment that you had to pay,
Registration fee.
then it would not be eligible for this program. But if you had a free program to community members, then that would look very differently. But thank you for highlighting that.
Well, again, it's the same, kind of the same timeline as the poet. And that's like next week is January, you know, so, yeah. And this is a really, could be really impactful to a lot of small cultural organizations. So again, it's, yeah, how can we
But
be
that's just
sure we're
opening
getting it
up, but
out?
This is gonna be throughout the year, right, until the funds are gone.
Well, it's gonna be open for a couple week period. And I think to your point, Commissioner,
All the same ways that you've said about the.
trying to give everybody access to it at one time. And if there isn't, maybe if all of the funding's not expended, that could be something that we kind of reevaluate in the
Yeah,
future of
uh-huh.
keeping an application open.
Yeah,
But also recognizing that folks planning events are probably in the middle of planning their events and are gonna
for
want
summer
try to
things, yeah,
funding as soon as possible.
yeah.
But also that council has only provided this funding as a pilot program.
Mm.
So we're trying to get it out to the community to see what kind of impacts it has. That way we could bring more information back to you all and then to city council to determine if they want to continue this program in 2027.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, I think it's a very good pilot effort from the point of view of trying to put some focus on community and cultural grants. With us having become the diverse community we have become, and it's just so much out there that we don't know about. People are just quietly doing it, you know, out of pocket, passing the hat. But it has tremendous community impact. So I think it's gonna be a good pilot project to see what really comes forward. And some things that are going on that's undercover, so to speak.
Yeah, and my concern is, the stronger organizations who do vendor and do all these types of things, they're gonna step forward and apply and do all those things. But I'm interested in maybe those who applied, didn't get selected, but now we have their information to know what kind of organizations there. So in the future, we can maybe target some of these smaller organizations, some who don't have a lot of resources or great infrastructure, but they're doing something really nice, but they're just not able to, apply and do an excellent job with the application at the same level some of the stronger organizations are able to. I'm just kind of fighting for the little guys.
With potential for
Yeah.
schools that have.
And so if we capture them, then we can help them next year, or in the future, so to help it be more competitive.
Now, the one thing about this application that concerns me, and I don't know how we could get around it, is that it's a reimbursement grant. So the little guy, the little organization, that might not have the resources
Right.
to spend it up front. and get reimbursed later. That's why the little people get left out.
Right.
Where they see that and they say, oh, well, you know, we don't have any, we need some upfront money. We don't have any money to spend to be reimbursed later. And that's where the little
Right.
smaller efforts get left out. And so we don't get to know who they are. That's out there with a great idea, but because they saw the word reimbursement grant, just say we don't, you know, we don't have existing resources to be reimbursed for. We're looking for some seed money or,
Right.
you know. That would be my only my
If there was a-
biggest concern
yeah.
about this.
An application on the visit where they can make a note or highlight that. Maybe the question is, are you able to,
Show us the budget.
yeah, to fund these items and then be reimbursed or whatever?
Yeah, give that information.
Any notes or comments regarding your ability to manage a reimbursable grant?
Unfortunately, that is how we have to process the payments, right? Is they have to show they provided something that is a service so that we can reimburse it. But what
But if they needed, they could reach out to a larger organization that maybe help them, just what I'm saying.
Sure, and I think that's where, again, some of those smaller groups, maybe that's where they have a fiscal sponsor who could help
Yeah.
Right.
some of
Right.
these
Ours is
elements.
A 501 that they
but-
partner with some 501.
What I was also gonna say is you don't have to wait till the end for your reimbursement as well. So let's say you got a $5,000 grant and you spend, you know, 250, which I understand is still quite a bit, but you could ask for your reimbursement, right? At a more frequent rate than waiting till all 5,000 has been expended.
Okay, but I think it'll be very important to spell that out to people so that they aren't discouraged.
It's
if
an
they can.
ongoing, yeah. do it.
Yeah, so if it's, you know, as expenses occur, you can submit
Right.
for reimbursement. That
Yes.
that
Yeah,
might,
makes a difference.
just that little note, that little info
Mhm.
might include a whole
Yep.
bunch more than ordinarily would have stepped forward. Good.
Okay,
And then where will they be able to find these applications when they're in effect on the city's page?
So I know, Veronica, do you wanna take this question?
Yeah, it's gonna be available in the internet site. And we're also gonna be able to help them here, like if they need a printed format, we will give them a printed.
Oh, so it's not gonna be under the government forms and applications or anything like that?
No, and we're also preparing I'm meeting tomorrow with Donna, our communications manager, to prepare the communications plan. So it's gonna be like advertising our social media and.
Okay.
So every grantee would have that ability. They tell you when the event is and then
Mhm.
they would be in the list of exciting Lacey events. Mhm.
Hopefully they'll, as part of the application, tell all of us as we're reviewing it so that we have a good understanding of what are all the events that are out there in the community. Any of those that get funding from the city, just like lodging tax dollars, we can put information on the city website, you know, listing when those events are occurring.
Uh-huh. If an entity do nonprofits get some of that lodging tax stuff, could they?
They can, yep, absolutely, and that's,
So is there any overlap?
there could potentially be, yep.
Could be.
And that's, you know, one
Might
of,
be looked at when we review it, the
Yeah.
application or something.
you know, one of the kind of reasons why we were taking a look at this, in addition to the council direction to take a look at this, was because what we were noticing was some of our lodging tax funding wasn't necessarily in alignment with kind of what the funding sources should be. It was focused to some degree on more community oriented, although there was still likely tourism elements to it. But just recognizing that there is a need for a more community and cultural based grant rather than necessarily a tourism based grant.
Yeah, yeah.
But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that the Venn diagram doesn't include both for both
Right.
grants.
okay, any other questions? Then we're gonna go to 2026 draft work plan.
All right, commissioners, I know we've reviewed this. We talked about it back at our October meeting as well as a review in our November meeting. And so the request tonight is to make a recommendation for the draft 2026 Commission on Equity work plan to the Lacey City Council for them to take a review of and approve. And we're tentatively scheduled to go in front of the city council on February 10th, 2026. Since your last review of this, one of the things I heard was to make sure that there's an opportunity sometime in 2026 to talk about how our internship programs work, training and our application processes. So really to bring human resources back to the city for another discussion. And so you can see in the updated version of the draft work plan, I've added that into Q2. And so just really quickly to do a review of the plan itself. First of all, our communications team did a really good job of updating the plan. I know last time you all reviewed it, it was placeholder for photos. So we've got some photos in there. We've updated the information on the commissioners here too, since the last time you've seen it, just to reflect that there are a couple of commissioners sitting around this table who have been appointed for another term and a full term. And so that information is now here. None of this information changed since the last time you reviewed it. It's all the same, dating back everything you all have done pretty much since inception to present day. So the last thing we'll add before we take it to the city council is just what you all reviewed today and what those discussions were. It also talks about the report card for 2025. So what we completed, what's been kind of pushed to 2026, and then what are some items that are on hold for the future. Had some discussion about that. And then it does a recap of our strengths, opportunities, and aspirations and results that we did at the meeting back in September, following up on the retreat that you all had earlier than that. And so this information is the same. The only thing we added was we added a little table here that just summarizes all of it towards the end. And then it's the 2026 work plan. And so what you can see, all of the items we had talked previously about the joint regional DIB meeting, taking a look at some of our utility relief programs, doing a review of the 2025 DEIB strategic plan and looking at that progress report. And I'm not naming everything, just a couple of select things. Taking a look at planning the summit, which continues to go ongoing, and then into Q2, you can see the one thing that I mentioned down here. We had already talked about the leadership mentorship opportunities, so getting a good understanding of that, but then bringing in human resources to talk about just some of our internal hiring processes as well as opportunities for the next generation. Moving on to Q3, you can see we'll be taking a look at public arts, which I know we've talked about before, but we're going to be doing another dive into some public art elements. Getting some updates on our Lacey Veteran Services Hub. Also taking a look at how the city does some of its recognitions. This was something we'd heard about. We've taken a look previously at proclamations, but doing a deeper dive of, what other programs are out there and how accessible and how can we maybe get more communities involved in some of these processes. So that's a really quick highlight, but I'd be happy to answer any questions from any council members on this. And again, we are looking for a motion to recommend this.
I move that we approve the 2026 draft work plan for this equity commission.
Commissioner Brown, I second.
Okay, then, I guess, do I entertain a motion to approve?
Jerry, you've got your motion and a second.
Okay, so
Discussion,
then,
any discussion.
any discussion?
There we go.
I would just say I'm exhausted looking at the plan for 2026. Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness. But you gotta have a plan to know where you're going and how
Yeah.
you intend to get there. So I'm grateful for that.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm proud to embark on this road with all of you. I think I'm in great company.
What was that?
What, could you repeat it again, please? Can't hear you.
It's muted
Can you hear me?
Yes.
now.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to say that I'm excited to embark on this journey with all of you, and I know that I'm in good company.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay, so then do I say it has been, with no discussions? It has been moved and second and approved.
So I'm gonna call for the vote.
So call for the vote. Anyone in favor? Raise your hand.
So all in favor?
In favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Okay, anyone opposed? All right. So you heard. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair.
Good thing
Was
it's
that
my last day.
Can the record show that was unanimous? So when it's time to get to work to make it happen, no, we don't want anybody to say, I didn't vote for that.
Just so I can learn this.
We need a little cheat sheet,
Yeah.
Robert's rules cheat sheet.
Okay. Oh, okay, good. That's done, right?
That is done. Yeah, thank you.
Exciting part, 2026 election of officers. I would like to open the floor for nominations, right? And I guess you can nominate yourself too, anyone who wants to serve as a chair. Do we do it at the same time, chair and vice chair, or separately?
Separately, Chair.
Okay, so for now, I would like to accept the nomination for the chair.
Commissioner Hedgewood.
I would like to nominate Dr. Jackson to move up to chair position. She's willing to accept.
Can you say that louder?
Yeah.
Recommending, I'm nominating Dr. Jackson to move into the chair position from the vice chair position, if she will accept.
I nominate Makita for the chair.
Okay,
Be willing to be vice chair, understudy, but if need be.
So Commissioner Hart, you can elect to accept or to not accept the nomination.
Gotcha.
Yep, as could you, Vice Chair Jackson.
I consent to serve.
I would also like to nominate John Hedgewood to be the chair as well. Just make the voting process more interesting.
So just want to confirm, I've heard consent from one member, Commissioner Hart and Commissioner Hedwood. Can we make sure we get consent from you all if you are interested in the chair
Yeah.
position?
No, I'd be interested in vice actually, understudy.
John, did you hear? John? We can't hear you.
He moved
I
underwater.
consent. So,
You consented.
We can't do.
What did,
I heard
what
a
did you say?
consent.
Can't hear you.
I consent.
I consent.
Okay.
That means,
For the record, can I confirm that I have consent from Chair Sauer, Vice Chair Jackson, Commissioner Hegwood, and a decent from Commissioner Hart?
Everything is correct except for Chair Sauer.
Chair Sowers, no,
She was not
Not
nominated.
nominated.
she's not nominated.
What was John's response? I couldn't hear him.
Consented.
He consents, he would.
Okay.
I consent.
Okay, I couldn't hear him.
Okay, that means there's a multiple nominees. And so we will have to take a vote here by raising hand. So you can only vote for one person, one name. And of course, the nominee with the majority of the vote will win. So please raise your hand if you would vote for Commissioner Jackson.
I vote for Commissioner Jackson also.
Unanimous.
Great.
I thought we was gonna have a split vote, and they have to make a speech and everything.
Yeah.
And it's over. Oh, shoots.
All right. Okay, then, that settles it, right? Then we, have a vote for, Commissioner Jackson to be the chair. So now we want to open up for vice chair. And I would like to then nominate, Makita.
I consent.
She consent. Any other vote?
You would
Any
serve.
other nominees for the vice chair?
I would nominate myself.
Okay.
All right. Great. If that's the case, we'll do the same thing again. Please raise your hand if you would vote for Makita.
Also for Makita.
All right.
John?
Chair, just confirming your vote.
Yes.
The vote is unanimous.
Okay, then we have a chair and vice chair for next year. Congratulations.
Great.
All right, then commissioners' reports. Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Summit Planning Update by John. Commissioner John Hegwood, it's your turn.
What was the prompt?
It's about the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Summit Planning Update.
Ah. Yep, so the last time we had the meeting, we are still on board for the April timeframe. Yep, the Saturday, second Saturday, third Saturday, 18th of April anyway is the date we're looking at. There's a lot of logistics that we're still covering. We're currently, how do I put this? We're in the planning stages on how we want to approach this from a strategic angle to make it where it's still a community built effort. But we are leading intentionally, and also with one voice. As many of us in this group probably know, that when you have many cooks in the kitchen, that can get very tricky. So we are currently in the process of organizing ourselves in a more efficient manner to effectively execute the tasks that are ahead of us, for lack of better terms. That being said, though, we're making great progress, I think. We have a lot of very passionate folks on our team. We're also discussing bringing in other folks into the fold that haven't otherwise been a part of the conversation. And then also identifying even potentially people outside of Thurston County that maybe have an interest or a stake in Thurston County for various meritorious reasons, whether it be like along like our strategic goals of like a broader inclusiveness and diversity lens, or even just like a greater capital proposition or a bigger audience, even is topics of debate currently. But regardless, I think that we have a very passionate group of people that are dedicated to the work that we're doing, and we're gonna have a great summit. And we're also discussing having something at the beginning to end of fall next year as well. And that, has kind of matriculated, but not quite finalized into what that may look like. But be prepared for that to come down the pipeline as well.
Commissioner Hedgewood, the date is gonna be May 1st and 2nd, so the afternoon of May 1st and May 2nd from 10 to 4. And it's gonna be again at SPSCC in the Lacey campus.
Yep, I do see that update in my calendar. I was still reading the old one. Thank you for that.
And there's been also another another change. This past year or this year summit, the most intense workload was taken by the League of Women Voters, a consultant, and myself. And the League of Women Voters was acting as the fiscal, what is the right term? Agent. Now they're transferring all of that to the YWC. Yes, YWCA, they're gonna be the fiscal,
Just a sponsor.
Sponsor.
yes, sponsor, and they're just gonna take a 10% administration fee. We already have the letters to request support, economic support, so each one of the members will be sending out certain numbers, like each person of the main organization committee will be sending 2 or 3 names of organizations that they will reach out to request funding. And I think that's where we're at. We're already discussing the agenda for the day. We don't know really yet what we're gonna do on the afternoon on Friday. So we're probably gonna do something government oriented related to the region and the regional meetings. That's really where we're at.
Yeah, Veronica, I thought we already just discussed the fiduciary responsibilities of the YWCA, but perhaps I'm behind. So thank you for touching on that as well.
I have a question. Is there an expected or hoped for outcome as a result of the summit? Things can be all over the place, and it helps to guide the development of the agenda when you have an expected outcome with that diverse range of people, participants that might be attending. So what do we hope to achieve as a result of this next summit? I've been on planning teams, and things can be helter-skelter if you don't take the time to decide that up front. Every new person that comes, got a new idea about what they want on the agenda. But what is that a discussion point that's happened with the planning
Yeah,
committee?
there's been a few proposals. So the next meeting is gonna be on January 12th, actually here at the community center, the community room. And it's gonna be in person, and we're gonna also do a potluck. I think that's where we're gonna decide exactly where we're gonna go, the goals that we wanna achieve, and and finalize the agenda.
Good. Good, that'll be very helpful,
Mhm.
yeah.
And just a point of clarity, Veronica, are you going to be able to make that? Because I will not be in state on that date, unfortunately.
Yeah, no problem. I already
Perfect.
booked the room, yes. Oh,
Okay.
the other thing, another update, part of the conversation as Commissioner Hedge was mentioning that we're opening it more broadly. There's been a very intense discussion about including the state, the Office of Equity and other state agencies, because they have expressed interest in participating and supporting, especially with promotion and all that. So we're probably gonna be including the state as well.
Oh, great. And that's another reason why a definition with an expected outcome becomes very important.
Yeah.
When, you open it up to state agency people, could very well overpower community people.
Yeah, we're being very careful of that, that they will be really supporting, not leading. That we're we have been very clear about that, very.
Okay.
Yeah, to Veronica's point, there's actually been a lot of pushback on us bringing in state folks. So it's very much a, supportive role only, and we've made that clear from the jump.
We may face some challenges because, like, for example, last year we received $2,500 from YMCA. We're not probably gonna have that this year. The city of Olympia doesn't know if they're gonna be able to provide funding as well. So that's why we're committing that each member will bring 2 potential requests to 2 potential institutions for funding.
Maybe we could apply for the community cultural grant.
And I asked our city manager if we could increase also our collaboration. Yeah, double what we gave last year.
Did we have sponsorship? Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, any other questions before we move on to the next?
I had one little idea of, as a commissioner, that the utility wraps that I would like to see the commission be utility wrap. And that you could have the artwork of all kinds of people surrounding some sort of, not our pictures, but just everybody inclusive picture. And then our QR code about how the commission started and whatnot. So I know
Why
we're
not
not
our
up for, making new ones, but I just wanted to put that idea out.
Well, that sounds cute.
Well, I would just highlight, connected to that is we will be circling back to public art, which will include our utility reps coming up here in 2026. And one of the things we're gonna be doing is another call for youth artists for our remaining folks on the existing list, but also taking a look with this group and the historical commission about additional entries for future groups. So keep that idea in mind, Commissioner.
An entry.
I have an item, Madam Chair. I would just like to call to the commission's attention, if you haven't already yet received it, an invitation to the Martin Luther King Community Celebration on Monday, January 19th, the actual holiday at New Life Baptist Church. You should be receiving an individual invitation as well as see the community thing. But if-
January 19th.
Monday, January 19th, from 1 to 3 p.m.
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's move on to Director's Report. And that is Thurston County Home Buying Expo update. Veronica?
Yes, so we were approached by the Thurston County Realtors Association to organize what they call the first time home buyers fair, and they were planning on doing it just with the city of Lacey. But we changed the focus and we really did it on a regional basis. So we invited the city of Olympia, the city of Tumwater, Thurston County, and ourselves. We had the event at the Lacey Community Center. It was mostly sponsored by a grant that the Realtors Association had obtained. And we just paid a little bit of the difference for the venue. We invited different organizations like the Housing Finance Center and different, we had about 15 exhibitors. And then we also partnered with the state, and that helped us a lot. The Office of Equity and the Department of Commerce, because they have a very strong housing department. And we promoted it also, the requested support to the Office of Financial Management to promote it amongst state employees. And the Office of Equity helped us develop all the digital flyers and save the dates. We had it translated into 2 languages, the save the dates, Spanish and Korean actually. And then we also developed a workshop because we wanted it to be an education event as well, not just like selling, right? So the education component was a workshop that we gave 1 session in the morning and 1 session in the afternoon. They were super well attended. We couldn't have interpreters because it wasn't like, we couldn't really even afford it. So what we did is we translated the workshop into Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Tagalog. And it was given in we also had the closed captions on the screen also for the workshop. And it was super successful. The Realtors Association was super pleased. All the exhibitors were very pleased. They also thought that it was too long because we started the setup started at 8 and we finished at 4. But we received 78 visitors. They were very pleased because the visitors were very focused on really, it wasn't people who was just wanting to spend the time. They were really interested in buying homes. And they were even waiting for the workshop. So it was super, super positive. Yeah, they just reported that this month there's 4 people closing.
Oh,
on their
great.
house. This is a direct report of the show.
Hmm.
So they're very positive, super successful. They are now planning on doing a second one, because this was the first one in the whole state ever. And now they're planning on doing a second one on April 18th, also a Saturday. It's gonna be at the Olympia Center. This year, it was, I was the one who did most of it and led the project with the Thurston County Association, the association. This next one, the association is gonna take the lead more, supported by Olympia. I'll still support. And we received very positive feedback. The Washington Ownership Resource Center mentioned that they've attended events with triple the budget and double the staff organizing, and they didn't have half of the results that we have. So they were super pleased, very impressed. They said that even the workshop, they've had 2-3 people attending the workshop, the morning session, the room was full. So it was so successful that we have been receiving, like, for example, the Department of Finance institutions, they reached out to us because they want to partner with us for the next one in April. So very, very,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Great job.
Good job.
Did you also get a feedback from the people that were putting it on, like the vendors that were there? Other
Yes.
than the long days, I'm sure, yes, long days, but look at the results, so.
Yeah, so the Realtors Association had a survey. We're finishing this week the processing everything. So for the next session, I will present the full report.
I helped promote it too. Took the flyer to the event at the Tacoma, which was well attended.
And actually, I've been meeting already with Kent because they're very interested in organizing one. And I also had another session with state agencies because they want to replicate it in other parts of the state.
Great.
Oh, good job.
Fantastic.
Snowball.
How soon will the flyers for this new one be out?
Yes.
I think in January.
Oh, great, great.
Well, that's pretty quick.
Didn't have quite as much lead time on
Yeah.
this one. So that'll be very helpful.
Will we have them maybe in time for the meeting so that we can get them out for you?
For our January meeting?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Perfect.
Alrighty, and then the Regional Equity Advisory Board meeting. Oh, Shannon.
The next couple of items all at once, because they're really just calendaring events that I wanted to make sure that you all saw. And to summarize, you all have a very busy end of January through February. So just wanna do this in chronological order. On January 26th, you have your next Commission on Equity meeting. So that's no surprise, that's your regularly programmed meeting. But just following that, on February 5th, we are planning on our next Regional Equity Advisory Board meeting. So this will be similar to what we did at the Thurston County Fairgrounds here back earlier this fall. We're gonna try to get all of the equity advisory boards together, plus our Human Services group and commission, and we will actually be taking the meeting on the Human Services Commission's regularly scheduled meeting. So just kind of rotating through all of our regional boards and hosting them kind of on a quarterly basis, if possible, based on existing meetings. And so we plan on hosting it here at City Hall at February 5th. We've invited Chris Wells, the executive director for United Way Thurston County, to come and provide the Alice report, which we had talked about and planned for previously. And so that will really help us set the stage for kind of getting that broad understanding of the environment that's around us. And then we'll continue some discussions on some of the items that the group came up with last time about future regional efforts that could be made between the cities and jurisdictions, in addition to getting updates from all of the jurisdictions on the equity work that they're doing. Following that February
Is
5th
it-
meeting, go ahead.
Excuse me, is it here?
Yes,
then?
right here, in
And
here.
at the meeting, and is it a 5:30 meeting?
Correct, it is a 5:30 meeting. Great question. Following that February 5th meeting on the next week, so the next Tuesday, we're tentatively scheduled for the commission and the Commission on Equity Work Plan, which you all just recommended to go before the Lacey City Council. And so now that we've got our chairs and our vice chairs selected for that meeting, it'd be great to have representation from those positions as well as one or two more commission members to join on February 10th to go over the draft plan. So if there's any commissioners who are interested, please send me an email and we'll have a discussion about that in January. And then finally, to round out February, which is the shortest month of the year, we were able to cram in one more meeting. And that is your regularly scheduled February meeting. But what I wanted to draw attention to is that the Lacey Youth Council is coming to have their joint session with the Commission on Equity. And they actually just met last week with the Olympia Youth Council for a joint meeting between the Olympia Youth Council and the Lacey Youth Council. So they're gonna provide an update on that meeting, as well as they've done this fantastic presentation of seeing Lacey through their eyes. And so they're gonna be able to give that presentation to you all and then have our open question and answer session with them.
This is good.
Chair, that ends my lengthy list of upcoming dates, but just as a reminder, we got a lot going on January and February.
Yep, great. That was a lot, but it was quick and precise.
Alibi.
That's great.
Is that February 5th meeting that's here at City Hall with the Alice Report, is that gonna be virtual too? Because I might be at an event myself for my personal business in Oregon. So I wanna be able to participate, but I also have to set up.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Previously, we
the regional,
Okay.
yeah.
Previously, because it was offsite
Mhm.
at the Thurston County Fairgrounds, we weren't able to provide that, but being hosted here, we will be able to have remote participation.
Yeah, I'll take a look at my schedule and I should be able to do virtually or leave late that night to drive down, so.
I have just as Commissioner Hedgewood mentioned, the IB Summit, the organizing committee, it has now a name. And the new official name is the Thurston Forward Coalition. And they were asking, and I think they had already mentioned this to you, Shannon, but they were asking if they could present, they were asking me about the date for the next regional meeting. And they were asking me if they could present some of the results and explain how the summit went last May. So they wanted to be part of the agenda, 10-15 minutes. So they asked me to remind that. And there's also one more ask. I don't know how you would like to approach it, but Lynn Crowley from APIC, so it's Asian Pacific Islanders Coalition of South Puget Sound. They're organizing race dialogue. They have been organizing several every year. And they're having the next one on March 28th. They want to invite the commission. And they also were asking if the city could sponsor it to have it here at the community room again. And really the sponsorship is just to be able to use the room and the Wi-Fi because it's on a Saturday. But she was asking me if she should come, so I'll talk to you about that later. But that's something that's coming for probably for next meeting.
What was that again?
The event is gonna be on March 28th. It's a Saturday too.
And what was it called?
Race dialogue.
Anything else? Okay, well, there's no other business. I adjourn the Commission on Equity meeting on December 22nd at 7:06 PM. Yay.